Hello, my name is Kerrioth, and today we are going to have a little chat about some rumours, because it's time again for some rumoury stuff to go around. Now, over the last couple of days, I've been sent a few different things from a few different people, a few of them being people who have sent me information before, and it's been regarding 9th edition, and it's also started to crop up on places like Bolter and Chainsword. I got linked to an article today for Bell of Lost Souls. I'm assuming Spiky Bits has covered it, I haven't checked, and really, the information is not anything all that surprising, I guess, and it's more of the back and forth nature of things, because there's been a lot of stuff about like an upcoming 9th edition, including various different flavours of what we're going to see in terms of, starter sets, stuff like that, but things seem to be kind of coming together somewhat. So we know already that we're not going to get an Orcs versus Space Wolves box for the start of 9th, because we've already had that. That was a Psychic Awakening thing. So that option is completely off the table. The bits of information that I've been given that have matched completely are that 9th edition will be essentially an 8.5 edition. It won't be a complete rewrite, it will be a tightening and restructuring and just making things a bit more streamlined and a bit more manageable, I guess, would be the way to put it. I've also been told by now multiple people who have given me information in the past, they've all had various things that have been correct in previous instances, that it is definitely going to feature Necrons, but as I say this, we are all aware, I hope, it's a rumour. It still counts as a rumour, it's still classed as a rumour, it is not guaranteed information, it is not absolutely gospel truth. We had a long discussion about this last week after the whole Primaris Terminator nonsense that went on, where, just in case you missed that video, I'll put a link in the description, but to do a brief summary, people got excited about Primaris Terminators. What they were actually getting excited about was two blurry pictures of, like, Rogue Trader card game pictures from 1993, or whenever the hell that was. So really, that was not a thing, not even slightly, and we had a nice long chat about how to approach rumours off the back of that, because it's very easy to jump on things and go, I would like this to be true, therefore it is. Don't do that. I will repeat that for this bit. Don't do that, we don't know yet, but what I've been told, essentially, 8.5, labelled as 9th, nothing massive, no sweeping changes. Necrons on one half of the new box. The initial or planned date for the release of it is around September time, although that could be completely different, and I've had 3 different variations of what the Necrons will face in said new starter set. I've had one suggesting Ultramarines, which would not be surprising at all. I've had another suggesting Crimson Fists. There's been just chatter of Blue Boys, and there's also been Death Watch is the other thing that I've heard. Now, there's a couple of parts of that are completely believable, and when 9th shows up, I would not be at all surprised. The first one being that it is a sort of tightening up of the current rules and not a complete rewrite. That's what I would assume, that's what I would expect, so I'm happy to think that that's probably going to be at least somewhat accurate. The other thing is that half the box will be Space Marines. I don't think that is a leap of the imagination at all. I'd be absolutely amazed if it wasn't. If there was a new starter set and it didn't contain Space Marines, I would be massively shocked, because when has that ever happened? I think technically there was the standalone game that was the Officio Assassinorum game. I forget exactly what that one was called, which you could, I guess, count as a starter set, sort of, where you had assassins versus, was it Word Bearers? It was Chaos Space Marines to some flavour, but in terms of just full-on starter sets, we've had, Space Marines versus Chaos, Primaris versus Death Guard, various variations of Space Marines versus X. Now, in terms of Necrons being on the other side of that box, I don't think there's anything particularly to disbelieve about that. It's not like Xenos haven't been on the receiving end of one of these starter sets before. We've had Orcs and, we've had plenty of sets at this point that have had Xenos on the other side. I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to give Necrons a starring role, I guess, in the story of the start of the 9th edition of 40k. That wouldn't surprise me at all, and it would open up it would open up the chance to maybe finish rounding that range out with plastics rather than fine cast. There are a couple of things that do need replacing in the Necron range. I would be afraid that some of the special characters would go bye-bye, that you would lose a couple of your named characters if that were the case. I could see an update to flayed ones being done in plastic rather than resin. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Perhaps either upgrading the Heavy Destroyer like add-on kit to plastic rather than resin, or just releasing a Heavy Destroyers kit. I could also see that happening. Converting every single named character to plastic seems very unlikely. But I could see, for instance, a box consisting of a Necron Lord of some kind, some Immortals, maybe a Triarch Stalker or a Thingy Arc, and some new flayed ones. I could see something like that easily. On the opposite side of that, though, the Space Marine side of things, Space Marines, I would assume that would be the case, and as such, there's nothing really to disbelieve there, I don't think, on for me anyway. The question is what flavour of Space Marines, and that's where it starts to get a little bit more interesting, because Ultramarines, Crimson Fists, or just a blue chapter of some kind, I could see that absolutely no problem. I mean, it would be Primaris, so obviously the colour of the armour would be the main difference, let's be honest. The interesting bit of that would be Deathwatch, because Deathwatch would be an interesting choice for a starter set, because when it comes to the actual starter sets for editions, obviously Games Workshop want existing players to pick those up. It's not like they're looking at them and going, well, we don't care if the people who already play buy them, we're all about getting new people with these. They obviously do want to get existing customers to buy the new box, obviously. Deathwatch might slightly appeal to more in the way of an existing customer base, but if you're looking to get people into the game, Deathwatch would be a weird choice for, like, you know, for like Freddy's first Warhammer 40k army. He splits the box with his mate. They've not played before. You know, one of them goes Necrons, the other one goes Deathwatch. Deathwatch are they're a weird army compared to how Space Marines as a whole work, especially compared to how Primaris work. I mean, Primaris are literally designed to simplify everything. If you have an Intercessor squad, you have an Intercessor squad. They have a variation of Bolter, and then the Sergeant can take something else, and that's it. That's what you've got. That's your lot. Compare that to a tactical squad where you've got a sergeant with a greater range of war gear, you've got a heavy weapon, and you've got a special weapon, and the tactical squad is more complex than the intercessor squad. Same thing with Hellblasters versus Devastators. The older Space Marine line has got a lot more variation in what can be taken on a squad by squad basis, and Primaris does away with that. Primaris is pretty cut and dry as to what you have in every squad. Deathwatch then recomplicates it, because you can mix and match with Deathwatch, so that you can have, you know, multiple things in the same units. If I remember correctly, you can take like Intercessors, Hellblasters, Reavers, and Inceptors in the same squads with Deathwatch. Reavers? Can you do Reavers? Maybe you can't do Reavers. No, I think you can do Reavers. Anyway, you can mess it up again. Whereas Primaris as a whole is very simple compared to what Space Marines can do who aren't Primaris. Deathwatch then complicates it back up again. As such, it seems like it would be weird to have Deathwatch as the starting Space Marine army, because there is that added layer of complexity to that Primaris as a whole have sort of done away with. And intentionally so, obviously. They want it to be, more simple to get into and easier to pick up. I don't think Deathwatch really fits the bill for that. I think it makes it more complicated again. So I'd be surprised if it was Deathwatch. It would be kind of nice, to be honest, but I would be surprised if that was the case. Now, in terms of like the release schedule, that is completely up in the air at this point. That is totally up in the air. I don't think anyone's got any idea. All we can do about that is just guess. I mean, we know full well that production has stopped. Due to the current global situation, there is nothing coming out of Games Workshop in terms of new products. We're just, everything's stopped. Manufacturing has stopped, production has stopped. that obviously is going to have a massive knock-on effect to, their planned releases, their schedule for the year, how they're planning to either catch up with that. Are they going to catch up with that? Are they just going to, start where they were going to start, like treat the last couple of months as say they'd plan to release a certain number of things each week, as they do. That's all stopped. Are they going to start up again from where they stopped? Are they going to act as though the last few weeks they did put the stuff out and just carry on, just pick up where they should be at this point in the year? Would they do something whereby they do a couple of extra releases a week? Like maybe do a couple of extra things a week that therefore mean that they can get back on track by September. I mean, that's the vague date that's been put forward. It's September. No specific date, but that's the month of this year. So, I mean, could they just wait it out? Kind of just aim to release the edition when they said they were going to release it? Like, oh, we've had 9th planned for this date, it needs to be on this date, everything coming after that relies on it being released this date, so we're just going to have to work around that and that date will stay? Or, does that date then get pushed back as they start production again and try and catch up? That side of things, I think, is almost irrelevant now. Genuinely, I think that side of things is totally irrelevant, because we have no idea how they're going to play catch-up, or even if they're going to play catch-up, or how they're going to approach it in any way. We don't know when they're going to start production yet, so trying to gauge when they might release 9th, who the hell knows? They might not even know at this stage. So the most reliable stuff that we have, and the stuff that has cropped up the most often, admittedly, is it being more akin to an 8.5. It now being Necrons versus Space Marines, which is believable to me. The flavour of Space Marine is obviously completely up in the air. There's a couple of different suggestions, but one of them I'm just really not feeling as an option, to be totally honest with you. And the release date, which God only knows when stuff's going to start coming out again. So, yeah, it's starting to condense a little bit. I know we have talked about this stuff before. I know that the kind of next edition of 40k has come up before in terms of rumours, and I think there's quite a few videos on the channel about it already, but it feels like it's starting to condense a little bit. It feels like we're starting to get more information is being corroborated by more people. For me, and I'm assuming for others as well, and I think we're starting to get a little bit of a picture, but until it happens, it's still as it ever was, which is rumours, and ones that should be discussed and talked about and had fun with, but maybe don't stake any lives in it just yet. So yeah, that's the extra stuff that I say. Extra stuff. That is the stuff that I have been told so far. That is all that I've had. I wasn't really planning on talking about it that much until I had a bit more, but quite a few of you have asked about the stuff that's gone up on Bolter and Chainsaw and a couple of the other sites and a few Facebook pages and stuff. So I thought I would address it with what I've got, such as it is, and just see what we think. Let me know what you think of all that in the comments down below. As always, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to. As always, there's an affiliate link for Element Games in the description, which you can use to support the channel if you would like. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.